final example again involves inverse functions, but this time there's no formula given for f. We know that f and g are inverses, and we're given 4 bits of information. We're told that f of -1 is 6, and f of 4 is equal to -1. So we're given 2 values of the function for f. We're also given 2 values for f's derivative. F prime is f prime of -1's value, and then f prime at 4. We know those 2 values as well. And we're tasked with finding g prime of -1. And this is the problem where, again, if you understand and you know this derivative formula, combined with your knowledge of inverse functions, we can come up with the answer rather quickly, okay? Because for starters, we see g prime of -1. Students will do all sorts of things, okay? Oh, well, maybe if f prime of -1 is -2, then g prime of -1 should also be -2. No, not quite, okay? Well, maybe it involves this f of -1 being equal to 6. That's not the case either. Let's think about what's going on here. If we want g prime of -1, okay, let's plug -1 in for x, okay? So this is equal to, this is our derivative, this is what our goal is to try to find. It's equal to 1 over f prime of g of -1. All right, according to our template, if we replace the x's with -1's here and here, this is our answer. This is what we have to determine. The problem is we're not given g of -1. But as we mentioned in the previous example, we're not given it directly, but we are given it indirectly. G of -1 is what we're looking for. Well, up here we see that f of 4 is -1. And since f and g are inverses, if f of 4 is equal to -1, then that means that g of -1 is equal to 4. Okay, so we have to use this piece of data right here to figure out what g of -1 is equal to. Now that we know that g of -1 is equal to 4, by substitution, our answer is going to be 1 over f prime of 4. Well, we have f prime of 4. That would have given us to as well. Seems kind of weird that they gave it to us initially, but now we see it's a very important part of our problem and our solution process. F of 4 is equal to 5, so we need to use that one as well. Or rather, f prime of 4 is equal to 5. Now we're done. G prime of -1 is going to be equal to 1/5. So even though we're looking for g prime of -1, and we're given information about f and f prime of -1, these 2 pieces of information were actually not pertinent at all to our solution process. We didn't need those 2 pieces of information, but we did need these 2 pieces of information, which seems a little weird, but it's the way it works out.